Hi, my name is Andrew Berry and welcome to At the Bench and welcome to another product review. In the past, I've been looking at tools and equipment when it comes to product review, but I've never actually done a review upon a material. This product review, we're looking at a silver sheet. It's called Silver Crinkle Sheet. Now, you've seen films on At the Bench in the past where we've looked at reticulation, where we've heated up sterling silver, we've heated up and quenched it, heated up, quenched it to get a lovely fine silver layer on the surface. Then we've used the torch to reticulate the surface, so the surface melts, so you get that lovely wavy, reticulated, uneven, crinkly sort of look about it. This particular silver has basically all that preparation done for you. It's an 80-20 silver copper alloy, reticulation alloy, already on a fine silver back. It's 0.6 of a millimeter thick. You may be wondering what these blue marks are on the front here. It is basically there to show you that this surface is the surface that you heat up, and this is the surface that crinkles. I've been given these few little sample pieces already from a company called Kernowcraft, and I've just been experimenting with this little one piece here. I've heated this piece up, the surface immediately crinkles, it all wrinkles up quite tight. What you can do, you can get a soldering pick or a pair of tweezers and you can ease that crinkle in around if there's an area that hasn't quite crinkled as much as you want, and you can pull the surface around so it has that lovely even crinkle look about it. You then pickle it, and with this particular piece that I've done here, I've been quite surprised and quite pleased at how well the metal has performed. As a sheet, it's fantastic, but I thought, well, let's see about shaping it, and I've used my doming set over that side of the room, and I've domed a rectangular piece. I've hit it with a hammer, and I'm pleased to say that the surface has really held up really well. As you can see on this piece here, that the surface has still retained that reticulated, that crinkle look about it. So even though I've formed it into the doming set, it still retains that crinkled surface. I'm really pleased with this. I'm really quite excited about it. What you must remember to do, and what I actually didn't do on that piece, is that you can't quite see it, but there is a protective layer on the front and on the back. It is clear plastic. The piece that I saw, I didn't see it. So when I heated it up, a flame came from it and that was the plastic burning off. So remember to remove that little bit of plastic on the front and on the back. The blue print that you can see on this piece here shows you that this is the surface that will crinkle and not the back. But remember, the protective plastic is on the front and on the back. So there's our sheet here. This has the blue dye on it. As soon as the flame touches this blue dye, it'll just burn off, so it has no effect upon the actual surface. So I got these few little pieces here. Let's have a bit of a play around and see how we go. As I said, you heat it up with a soft flame, and within a couple of seconds the surface will shrink. It looks like it shrinks and starts to wrinkle up. You can stop there, or if there is an area that hasn't quite wrinkled, you can use your tweezers or a pick to pull it all around. So let's have a look and see how this little piece here works. So I'm hoping the cameras can pick this up when I heat it up. So I got a flame. I'm not going to make it too fierce. I'm just gently going to play it over the surface. Virtually straight away the dye disappears. As you can see, the dye has all gone. And just gently heat up the piece. And literally now, with any second, the surface is going to change. Get ready. There we go. It starts to go. Can you see that? If you carried on putting the flame on it, the surface will become completely molten, and then yes, you could move the surface around with your tweezers. So I'm going to put that into the acid just to pickle it and get all that oxide off. Let's have another go with another piece, and I'll see what happens when we heat it up completely so the surface really does become quite molten. So again, I've removed the plastic off the surface. Let's play the flame over this. Again, the blue dye comes off. That is there so you know which side has the 80-20 silver copper alloy, reticulation alloy. The edges go first. Get ready. Here we go. There it goes. Let's pop that into the acid as well. And let's try the next piece. This is what happens when you forget and you leave the plastic covering on. It burns off. It's okay, it just burns off completely. It doesn't leave any residue or anything. But let's see what happens to this when we heat this up. That's the rest of the plastic burning off. So it crinkles up within seconds. So let's see what happens. Let's heat it up a little bit more. The surface now is becoming quite molten, and you can play around with the surface with your tweezers. Almost like it is when you have reticulation and you do it the original technique. So there we go. So I've moved that around with my tweezers. Again, let's pop that into the acid and clean all those oxides off. So these pieces have been in the pickle, the acid, and you can see the redness that we've got on top of these pieces here is the actual copper from the 80-20 silver copper reticulation alloy left upon the surface. The underside being pure silver, it is lovely and shiny. So ideally we need to get this copper off. What I did when I did this little chap here was that I got a brass brush and I put it in some water. Let me just put this something down to protect my table. I put it in a little bit of water and a bit of soap on the surface. I literally just went over the surface, rubbing it on the brass. As you can see, the copper starts to come off. And also what helps is a little bit of hand soap or fairy liquid or washing up liquid on the surface. And this is going to burnish the surface. And by burnishing the surface, you'll make it nice and bright. You can also polish it with a polishing mop as well. But to be honest, the finish that we've got, just purely using that brass brush, is really, really good, as you can see. It's nice and shiny. You can come along with a rouge mop and just put a high polish again if you wanted to onto that sheet. But I think purely using that brass brush, it's got a really fantastic look about it. The crinkled pattern is irregular all the way around. There's no regular, there's no repeated pattern at all. Completely uneven pattern. And I've just quickly done this one as well. This was the piece that I melted the silver completely, the surface, and I moved it around with my tweezers. The surface is a lot more rough, it's a lot more irregular, and you can get some fantastic reticulated patterns really quickly, very easily as well. So I'm actually quite impressed with this sheet. It was fantastic being able to have the flat sheet and have it wrinkled, but the ability to shape the piece after it has been wrinkled is really, really good. What we'd have to look at is how we would then approach perhaps soldering these pieces. I think the best thing to do would be to wrinkle and crinkle the metal first, and then use perhaps an easy solder to solder, in this particular instance, perhaps a post upon it. That way then we can limit the amount of heat getting to the surface. Whereas if we soldered the post on first with a hard solder, when we come to wrinkle and crinkle the surface, you may find that the findings may drop off because the heat may get a little bit too hot. But I think by soldering on using an easy solder, a lower melting point solder, we should keep that crinkle finish. I don't think, I'm going to try this on a project a little bit later on at the bench, we won't harm or we won't alter the surface of our crinkle sheet there. So that's my first experiment with this silver crinkle sheet. I'm going to get a little bit more of this in. I'm going to have a bit more of a play with this. What I may actually do, these would look stunning as a simple round domed pair of stud earrings. So simple, but really effective with that beautiful crinkle surface. So that's the silver crinkle sheet from Kernowcraft. I'm Andrew Berry for At The Bench. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.